A royal judge thought he could humiliate a guard for breaking protocol, confident that he could make an example of him. But when the guard revealed his hidden legal genius, the judge realized he had picked the wrong men to challenge. What happened next left everyone speechless. The summer sun beat down on the cobblestones outside Buckingham Palace, casting long shadows across the courtyard. Lieutenant Iva Blackstone stood at attention, his scarlet tunic flawless despite the sweltering heat. His posture was rigid, the product of 8 years of strict military training. Behind his ceremonial uniform was a man whose journey to the Queen's Guard was anything but ordinary. He had seen war, earned commendations in Afghanistan, and yet here he stood unmoving and wavering, unshaken by the crowds taking photos in front of him. Families, couples, and the occasional mischievous tourist testing the limits of the Guard's discipline. It was just another day. His thoughts were still focused. He had been trained to endure without reaction, to be as immovable as the palace itself. But beneath the rigid discipline, he remained watchful, assessing every detail of the crowd. Then, something unusual happened, a quiet gasp, followed by murmurs. In his peripheral vision, Blackstone noticed movement where there should be none. An elderly woman, in her 70s, clutched her chest and started collapsing. Her face turned pale. Protocol was clear: guards must remain at attention unless the palace itself is threatened. Guards had stood still through rain, protests, and even medical emergencies. But Blackstone had also taken an oath to protect. And in that split second, he made his decision. With precise movements, he stepped forward, catching the woman before she hit the ground. "Mum, are you all right?" His voice, silent for hours, was steady and calm. Her pulse was weak beneath his gloved fingers. Gently, he lowered her to a seated position. "Someone call for medical assistance," he commanded, his tone carrying the weight of battlefield experience. Several tourists pulled out their phones to dial emergency services. Her breathing was labored. "I have heart medication," she whispered, motioning weakly to her purse. Blackstone retrieved the small pill bottle and helped her take the medication, ensuring her airway remained clear. The crowd watched in silence, amazed at the swiftness and precision of his actions. Just as the tension in the air began to settle, a sharp voice cut through the crowd. "What is going on here? Why has this guard abandoned his post?" A tall man in a perfectly tailored suit pushed forward, his Italian leather shoes clicking against the stone with authority. His expression was one of irritation rather than concern. The sunlight reflected off the gold cufflinks at his wrists, and the crest of the Royal Courts of Justice on his signet ring revealed his identity: Judge Lawrence Montgomery. He carried himself with the self-importance of a man used to having his authority respected without question. The crowd parted as he moved forward, his gaze locked on Blackstone. A young woman tried to explain. "Sir, the guard was helping." "I can see what he's doing," Montgomery interrupted, checking his expensive watch. "What I don't see is any justification for breaking protocol." Montgomery sneered. "Perhaps you're unaware that breaking Royal Guard protocol carries severe penalties. Section 12 of the Military Conduct Code makes that clear. I could fine you a month's wages, or, if I choose, I could push for formal charges." A soft gasp spread through the crowd. One woman tried to defend Blackstone. "Sir, he was helping someone in distress." "Madam, I understand the law better than you do," Montgomery snapped. "This is about discipline, not sentiment. The fine will be substantial, let's say £500, unless you'd like to make it easier on yourself and admit your mistake." Still, Blackstone remained silent, the veterans watching clenched their fists. Montgomery stepped closer, his voice dropping to a more threatening tone. "Perhaps you don't understand, soldier. By this time tomorrow, you could be facing disciplinary action that ends your career. Is that what you want?" The crowd, sensing the confrontation, began recording. Then, he made his biggest mistake. He jabbed his finger against Blackstone's uniform. The moment stretched in silence. The veterans straightened instinctively. Several onlookers gasped. Finally, Blackstone moved. He shifted his gaze to meet Montgomery's eyes directly and spoke in a tone as sharp as a blade. "Sir, I must respectfully ask you to remove your hand from my uniform." Montgomery blinked, momentarily caught off guard. The confidence in his posture wavered for a split second. But he quickly recovered, puffing up his chest. "You dare speak to me like that, soldier? Do you know who I am?" Blackstone didn't flinch. "I know exactly who you are, and I also know that touching a guard without consent can be considered harassment under military regulations." The crowd murmured. A veteran in the back crossed his arms and nodded in approval. Montgomery's nostrils flared. "You're just a ceremonial figure. You don't get to lecture me on regulations." Blackstone took a deliberate step forward, his stance unshaken. "On the contrary, sir. I am a Queen's Guard, sworn to uphold duty and discipline, not to be used as a prop for intimidation. You are not above the law, and your actions have consequences." Montgomery's eyes darted around as he realized more people were filming. The pressure of dozens of recording devices, the silent judgment of the veterans, and the unwavering presence of Blackstone made his bravado falter. His lips pressed into a thin line, but he said nothing. A woman in the crowd whispered, "Looks like the judge is the one being judged now." Blackstone took a step back, forcing Montgomery's hand away. "There are no sections 12, 23, or 47 in any Royal Guard regulation. There is no Parliamentary Protection of Ceremonial Guards Act. You have neither the authority to issue fines nor recommend military discharges." Montgomery's mouth opened, then closed. Before he could recover, Blackstone continued, "Before joining the Queen's Guard, I completed my law degree at Oxford, specializing in constitutional and military law. I am well aware of the actual regulations governing my position." A murmur rippled through the crowd. The veterans nodded in approval. If this story opened your eyes, hit that like button. Subscribe to Guards Moments and tap the bell icon so you never miss a powerful story like this. Check out our other videos now, and we'll see you next time.